know Jeffrey Epstein. I've never met Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not on a list. I was not on a plane or an island or anything ever.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're looking at the most notable reactions to the unsealed court documents relating to a lawsuit against Jeffrey Epstein and his former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Jeffrey Epstein claimed Bill Clinton likes me young. I mean, are we surprised?
Mark Epstein. In unredacted court documents, Jeffrey Epstein victims are shown to have recounted many powerful men and women that they met during their time with the late financier.
Just some of the famous names among a list of 150 revealed overnight in newly unsealed court papers.
However, Jeffrey Epstein's brother Mark feels that the release so far means nothing. He reacted to the so-called Epstein list by saying in part, quote, "I don't know what to make out of these documents. I don't know how these lists were compiled. And I have nothing to do with that, and it's not my business."
He says he's not surprised the documents don't contain any bombshells, but he's also convinced his brother Jeffrey Epstein was murdered in jail to keep him quiet about what everyone was hoping would come out in these documents.
Mark also continues to believe his brother did not take his own life, but was in fact, quote, murdered.
So the question then becomes, if it's a cover-up, I don't think Bill Barr killed my brother. So then who is he covering up for? That becomes the question.
Cameron Diaz. In addition to royals, businessmen, and politicians, Jeffrey Epstein socialized with many celebrities during his lifetime.
Another major revelation was made about magician David Copperfield. He allegedly performed magic tricks for Epstein and several of his victims.
In fact, one of Epstein's victims, Johanna Schoberg, alleges that Epstein name-dropped plenty of them, including actress Cameron Diaz.
"I used to be a bright star."
Schoberg says that she never met Diaz, however. Upon the release of her name in the documents, Cameron Diaz issued a statement through her representation denying any connection with Jeffrey Epstein. The statement reads, quote, "Cameron never met Jeffrey Epstein, nor was she ever in the same place as him or had any association with him whatsoever."
Get me out of here. I'm ready for stardom after all these years.
Rainn Wilson and Jax. The Office star Rainn Wilson and Victoria's Secret singer Jax collaborated for an Instagram where they reacted to a particularly disturbing aspect of the released Jeffrey Epstein documents. Namely, the inclusion of Dr. Stephen Hawking's name and the insinuation that he took part in an alleged, quote, underage orgy.
The highly anticipated documents also mentioned theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking.
Rainn Wilson, who famously played Dwight Schrute on The Office, joined Jax for an expletive-laden musical reaction to the Hawking mention. The best part? It was all done to the tune of the Office theme song.
What the is that? Really, what is even?
The royal family. A major chunk of the released court papers centers on Prince Andrew's affiliation with Jeffrey Epstein. The Duke of York has long been accused of appalling acts by Epstein's victims, and the unsealed court documents further implicate Andrew.
No, nothing. Never happened.
Epstein's housekeeper, also in a Florida court legal deposition, said that you visited the Palm Beach residence around 4 times a year.
Many outlets have turned to Buckingham Palace for comment on these accusations, but they have received little response. For the most part, the palace has stayed silent, declining to comment by noting that Andrew is no longer a working royal and has not been since 2019.
I mean, he lost his title of HRH because of all this, and he lost a huge amount of money and lost all credibility and was kicked out of public life. So if he hasn't learned the lesson yet, I don't know what will teach him the lesson.
They have reiterated their previous statement, saying, quote, "Andrew deplores the exploitation of any human being, and the suggestion he would condone, participate in, or encourage any such behavior is abhorrent." As for one of Andrew's daughters, Princess Beatrice, she seemingly showed support for her father by visiting him following the document's release. However, she did not share an official statement. Alan Dershowitz. Former Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz responded to the tranche of documents relating to his former client Jeffrey Epstein with a fiery video defense.
And these documents, if all the documents are revealed, will prove categorically that she did misidentify me, that I never met her, never heard of her, never spoke to her.
The documents contained allegations that Dershowitz had relations with underage victims and was named a total of 137 times. His response included in part, quote, "Of course I'm on that list. I was his lawyer. I flew on his plane." He added, quote, "I had an innocent relationship with a man who I didn't know, and nobody suspected had done anything wrong." He made the case that if someone is accused in court papers, quote, "people will assume those accusations must be true, but there is little reason to believe that."
I'm 85 years old. I hope the good Lord gives me the strength to continue to represent the most despised, the most controversial, the most unpopular people in the world.
Jimmy Kimmel. In the days leading up to the so-called Epstein list release, late-night host Jimmy Kimmel was involved in a public spat with NFL quarterback Aaron Rodgers. This stemmed from an appearance on the Pat McAfee show, where Rodgers insinuated that Kimmel's name would appear on the list.
A lot of people, including Jimmy Kimmel, are really hoping that doesn't.
Kimmel fired back on social media. "Dear blank, I've not met, flown with, visited, or had any contact whatsoever with Epstein."
On his first show back from holidays, Kimmel tore into Rodgers during his opening monologue, calling him Karen Rodgers.
He put on a magic helmet, and that G made him a genius.
Kimmel reiterated that he has no connection with Epstein and would never be listed in any of the documents. As for accusers like Rodgers, he went on to say, quote, "This is how these nuts do it now. If you don't like Trump, you're a pedophile. It's their go-to move."
And by the way, are you looking for someone who actually was a friend of Jeffrey Epstein, who called him a terrific guy and bragged about his affinity for younger women? I have very good news, Epstein hunters. I found one for you.
Megyn Kelly. Former Fox News personality Megyn Kelly had a rather cryptic response to the newly unsealed court documents.
We're not done with Jeffrey Epstein. I can tell you that for a fact. Can't tell you how I know, but I can tell you for a fact.
During her Sirius XM podcast, The Megyn Kelly Show, the host said, quote, "I can't tell you how I know, but I can tell you for a fact we're going to hear a lot more about Jeffrey Epstein in the coming year, and you may even be hearing from him directly." She followed by saying, quote, "More on that as I'm allowed to tell you."
Will there be more?
Kelly also made it clear that while the latest revelations were, quote, "shocking to her," they were not the least bit surprising.
It's shocking but not surprising. Like I said, we've seen this history of his for a long, long time.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Politician and presidential hopeful Robert F. Kennedy Jr. responded to the unsealed Jeffrey Epstein court documents by saying that he, quote, "will be left unscathed."
I think it's important for the American public to know whether Jeffrey Epstein had some kind of corrupt influence on public officials or any public figure.
The independent presidential candidate previously admitted that he flew on Epstein's plane. However, he has yet to be named in the unsealed documents.
You weren't on Epstein's jet. Well, I mean, twice, with my family, once to go fossil hunting, but aside from that.
Kennedy Jr. said, quote, "I like what's happening today. I like the fact that all these papers are being released. I've been an advocate for transparency. I think the government keeps too many secrets." He also hopes that the releases continue until everything is made public.
I hope everything that is known about Jeffrey Epstein comes out.
Bill Clinton. While Bill Clinton is not implicated in anything illegal in the unsealed court papers, the former president was mentioned as having a specific preference in the opposite sex. The release of Johanna Schoberg's 2016 testimony revealed that Jeffrey Epstein told her that Clinton, quote, "likes them young."
She is asked, did Jeffrey ever talk to you about Bill Clinton? She responds, "He said one time that Clinton likes them young."
Angel Ureña, a Clinton spokesperson, responded to the latest claims by telling Newsweek that, quote, "nothing has changed since Bill's 2019 statement." That being that Clinton continues to stand by the fact that he, quote, "knew nothing about Epstein's crimes."
A spokesman for Clinton referred NBC News to a prior statement from 2019 saying he had not spoken to Epstein in over a decade and was unaware of Epstein's crimes.
Ureña confirmed President Clinton took 4 trips on Epstein's plane in 2002 and 2003, but had not spoken to him in over a decade prior to his passing. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Ghislaine Maxwell. Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice and former girlfriend Ghislaine Maxwell has reacted to the released trove of court documents that, in part, named several of their associates. Through her attorneys, Arthur Aidala and Diana Fabi Sampson, Maxwell continued to insist she is innocent of any wrongdoing. The statement also says that, quote, Ghislaine Maxwell took no position on the court's recent decision to unseal documents in Jeffrey v. Maxwell, as these disclosures have no bearing on her or her pending appeal. They iterated that Maxwell's focus is on the upcoming appellate argument in which she's asking for her entire case to be dismissed.
I don't think she has anything to talk about, except maybe that if you look at this crime, this overall crime, it's all about men abusing women for a long period of time, a lot of men. That's what we're waiting for this list. And there's only one person in jail, a woman.
What has been your reaction to the unsealed Epstein court documents? Let us know in the comments below.
What the is that really what